After we get parents' verified consent, like we were trying to do in step 4, our next step is step 5, to honor the parents' ongoing rights to review and control their kids' information. Even if parents have agreed that you may collect information from their kids, parents still have ongoing rights and you still have continuing obligations under COPPA. Here are some of those obligations. If a parent asks, you must give them a way to review the personal information collected from their child. You must give them a way to revoke their consent and refuse further use or collection of personal information from their child. And you must delete their child's personal information. So they can ask at any time. And one of the critical points of compliance with COPPA is having internal policies where this data can be easily accessible. So if a parent does renege on their consent, you can easily delete that information, or if they simply want to know what information the child has submitted so far, give them a way to see that type of thing. And so sometimes this is accomplished through quote-unquote parents' dashboard in certain apps. And so an app might have a kids mode where then a parent has a administrative super user mode that gives them rights to look at this data. We'll talk a lot more about how this actually works in practice, but these are some of the things that are continuing obligations. Ideally, anytime you're communicating with a parent about personal information already collected from their child, you should take reasonable steps to ensure you're dealing with the child's parent. So you want to avoid a situation where someone is pretending to be a parent and ends up getting access to the information that the child submitted to review, or illicitly deletes some of the child's personal information because they have the right to do it. There are the myriad of circumstances where children are part of a battle, whether it's a divorce or it's a custody issue or something like that, are very, very large. So you want to make sure to preserve the data sanctity by taking reasonable steps to verify that you're dealing with someone who actually should be having the data. At the same time, you should make sure that the method you use to give parents access to the information isn't unduly burdensome, because under COPPA, it may be okay to terminate a service to a child if the parent revokes consent, but only if the information at issue is reasonably necessary for the child's participation in that activity. So, without a terms of use saying that you can delete a child's account for any reason, you may end up in a scenario where the parent can delete the information from the service, but the child can still use the service, assuming that the information is not necessary for the child's participation. This again is why privacy policies in terms of use act hand in hand, because if you have a provision in your terms of use that says you can delete an account for any reason, you don't have to go through the hassle of figuring out whether it's reasonably necessary to keep the child's account up. You can just delete it if the parent says to delete it, and you won't get into any arguments. You become the final arbiter in whose account stays and whose account goes on your service. So, again, we should talk about how to deal with these things practically, and we'll talk about that in an upcoming video. Thanks a lot, and we'll get to step 6 in the next video.